So obviously, you guys went through like a tragic thing last year with the Jose
Yeah.
Fernandez. How much did that change just the entire organization and going forward? Because I feel like then obviously
Yeah.
the ownership changed and then they trade a ton of guys, so everything kind of
Like
spiraled off of
it
that.
changed. It changed everything. I'd still be there. Stanton would still be there. Like we'd all still be there this year. If that didn't happen, this would have been his last year before free agency. So we would have been gearing up, making a playoff push, and we had a ton of talent on those teams. But when something like that happens in a small market organization, and you can't replace it, and it set everything back
Yeah.
years. You know,
Hmm.
it changed everything, and it's something that nobody can foresee that happening in the organization, on the team, nothing. So
Mhm.
once that happened, we all realized like a few days after, like this is going to change
Right.
everything for everybody, and everybody's kind of path is going to be different. We tried to make it work last year and patch it together and see what we could do, but it's such a big loss. Like not only just personally as just losing a friend, that's terrible, but organizationally and for the fan base and for the team, it was just too much to recover from, and
Hmm.
I think it just set all the events into motion a little bit earlier than maybe it would have happened.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we all talked about when we got traded and we went different places. Was just like, look, this isn't anybody's fault in the organization or anything like that. It's just one of those really unfortunate things, and then the team has to do what it has to do. It's a business at the end of the day for them, and for us. And when something like that happens and you go your separate ways, there's no hard feelings or any animosity, because it's like, look, we all went through that together there. It was a really tough time, just being in that clubhouse, being in that team. Like everybody who was there knows what that was like, and uh, I feel like nobody left with on bad terms.
Right.
When I got the call that I was traded and everything leading up to it, it was never just like a long, drawn out fight. Really, a lot of animosity there. It wasn't like that at all. And uh, I talked to Donnie about it and our GM at the time when I got the call. They're like, look, this all happened because of all the events that happened leading up to it.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So when you
Hmm.
when you came back after getting that news, some guys say they like getting back on the field and like
Hmm.
helps them move on, helps them
Yeah.
heal, helps them like gel together. Other people just they have trouble getting back in that focus because
Yeah.
it's such a big thing that happened. For you, which one of those was it?
It was really surreal, honestly, because you see everybody, like baseball, we spend so much time with each other. We spend more time with each other than we do our own families during the course of the season,
Yeah.
because we have 10, 11-hour days at the stadium if we're not traveling. So then you're traveling, you go to dinner together, you're hanging out on the road, hanging out at home. We all came up together. We came up through the minor leagues together
Mhm.
for the last couple levels. So uh, everybody sees each other every night leaving the clubhouse. You're like, all right, man, like, see you in the morning, see you tomorrow. And then you wake up to that news and that phone call, and you're like, man, what? Like, what happened? We got a text saying game's canceled. Everybody get to the stadium as quick as you can. And so we have a dome, so it's not canceled.
Right.
It's not canceled because of weather. We were at home. It's a Sunday. It was actually like an Ichiro bat giveaway for his 3,000th hit, which you know everyone was like, why are they canceling this game? And then I actually saw it on Twitter. So like, why are they canceling the game? And I had to wake up. I was living with JT at the time, and now his wife was there. So I was like, I knew before he did, he was still sleeping. So I had to figure out a way to tell JT, like, we have to go to the stadium. But Jose died, but I didn't want to tell it to him and have his wife there, or his now wife there, and then be like, all right, like, see ya.
Right.
Which I didn't
Right.
know. I didn't know they actually saw him that night. They were
Oh,
there,
jeez.
and I was going to go meet them too at the place, because he had some friends in town, so they were going to have some drinks at this cool spot in Miami that a lot of people went to, um, and I didn't know they were with him that night. So I went in and woke him up, which I never do. I was like, hey, dude, like, get up, we got to go.
Right.
And usually I've lived with JT since we were 18. Like, we came into pro ball together, and usually he'd be like, what are you doing? Like, get out of here.
Hmm.
And he was like, okay. I was like, what?
Jeez.
kind of tell that.
Yeah, I was
yeah,
like, hey,
there's
dude, like,
something
we
off
got,
there.
yeah, because if I was going to wake him up, like, something
right.
bad
Something
happened. So he
serious
was like,
happened.
okay. And then his wife was kind of like, what's going on? And I guess she searched something on Twitter, and then
Figured
she
it out.
started crying. And I was like, oh, dude, like, we got to go. And I just remember those 2 days being like a movie. Like, you felt like you were watching yourself through a movie and all the stuff that happened. And you know, you go to the field, and I remember just coming in the clubhouse, and in Miami, the clubhouse is like a circle, and all the lockers kind of face each other, and all the chairs, and they made us all wait there until everybody got there, and then they kind of addressed the team. But it was like this, like you're just kind of sitting here in shock, and no one was really crying at first. Everyone was just like silent and in shock, kind of, and you know, they came in, talked to the team, basically told us what happened. We already knew at that point, but they told us what happened and what they're going to try and do, which I actually think they handled the whole thing really well as an organization. There's not really a script for that, or what can happen, and no one plans for that, or there's no contingency for what you do when that happens. And we were with the family, and the next day, like coming to play the game the next day, we all did everything at the stadium that day. They had the press conference, and we went to his family's house after the press conference. We all took buses to their house. That's what they wanted. And I remember that being pretty brutal. Like, you're just like,
jeez,
man, this really sucks. Like his mom, his grandma, everybody there. And like this is horrible. And then we're like, we have to play the next day because we were playing the Mets, and they were still in the playoff, race. So like we had to play. Like MLB was like, you got to do this. So we were like, all right, like, how are we going to play this game right now? And I remember it being, the whole day was just really, really weird because it was just not a normal day. His locker's still there. Everything's in it the same the way you left it.
Right.
We all had Fernandez jerseys, and you go out to the stadium like to go play the game, and it's actually relatively full, for a Marlins game. And it's dead silent in there. Like, nobody's talking. And as you guys run out on the line to warm up before the game, and they start clapping, like everyone starts clapping, and you just lost it at that point. Like, it was like, all right, I'm crying on a Major League Baseball field like right now. Like, everybody is, Stanton, D. Gordon, myself, like, all these guys that you never really would see cry ever in your life. Like, you never imagined that was, like, guys are sobbing, and then D. Gordon hit a homer. And the funny thing about that is, during spring training that year, D signed a ball for one of Jose's nephews or friends. And Jose was like, I love you, man. Like, I know you don't believe me right now, but I'm going to show you one day. Like, I love you. I'll show you. And then he did his stance, turned around, and hit a homer in the upper deck, which was,
that moment was unreal.
It was like a movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was that's what I was saying. Like, the 2 days were like a movie. They bring the hearse to the field the next day, and it's pouring rain. Like, it's pouring rain outside. We're all standing outside. The hearse pulls up, and it stops in front of the team, and the rain goes stop completely. And it was just nuts, man. It was a crazy few days. It's something that I'll never forget. But it makes you appreciate the game, and it makes you appreciate moments like this more, because you realize like how fast it can all be gone.
And it's good that you were, around. You had all those teammates and all those close friends that were going through the same thing at the same time.
It definitely made it easier and better just to be around with those guys and to experience something like that. But yeah, it was definitely a crazy time.
That's an incredible moment.
I can see how something like that would kind of it would change everything for that franchise.
Yeah.
Everybody that experienced that, nobody's going to be the same afterwards.
And then you had Marlins boycott the franchise. So then it's like
that was the real
double tragedy right there.
Yeah.